Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, EM think I owe her £10,000 compensation because her son grew up to be a thug, just like I said he would. Did anyone else's parents collect rent, food, utilities and the rest of your money because you owed her for emotional damages? Or do I have an EM? My parents kicked me off my PlayStation. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. EM think I owe her £10,000 compensation because her son grew up to be a thug, just like I said he would. Apologies, but this one's long as there is some context to get out of the way. Years ago, my cousin, Lucy, and I had a strained relationship because she let her son, Damien, do anything he wanted, never punished him, and brushed away anything he ever did as boys will be boys or he's just a kid, etc. It came to a breaking point between us when Lucy and Damien were visiting years ago. Damien was 12 at the time, and my daughter, Maggie, was 9. Maggie was sitting happily playing her Xbox in her bedroom upstairs. While Lucy and I were talking, Damien got bored and wandered off. A few minutes later and I hear screaming and crying. I rush up to Maggie's room to find her on the floor, blood all over her face, while Damien is just casually playing the Xbox. It turns out he came up and demanded a turn on the Xbox. Maggie said sure, just let me finish the level. So he snatched the controller from her hand and smashed her around the face with it, then shoved her out of the way. I rushed her to the hospital. Luckily, it looked worse than it was, and there was no lasting damage, and I live in the UK so no medical bills. But I was furious. I told Lucy what Damien did and she shrugged and said, "You know how boys are with their video games, she should have just let him play." I told her in no uncertain terms that she and her son were not allowed anywhere near me or my family. We got into a huge fight over this, where she of course tried to absolve her little angel of anything. So I lost it and told her if she didn't discipline him and teach him boundaries, she would end up raising a monster who would grow up to be a thug or worse, which infuriated her. This caused fallout with the family for years, largely because Lucy lied and told everyone her son and Maggie had just been play fighting and that's how she got hurt. It was just an accident and I was overreacting. After a few years, everyone forgot. I still forbade Lucy or her hell spawn from coming anywhere near me. Several other family members did the same. I can't imagine why. Fast forward to a little before the pandemic. Damien was 19. Just like I predicted, he soon learned that thanks to his mother, he was bulletproof as she would never believe he did anything wrong. So his behavior got worse and worse, to the point where he was kicked out of every school in the area and had to go to special school. I got a call from Frank, Lucy's brother, telling me Lucy had been rushed to hospital, that he knows we don't talk, but Lucy was seriously hurt and he wanted to let me know. Despite our history, I went to visit Lucy, accompanied by Frank and his wife. Before this we had been really close and I was upset to hear she was hurt. When I got there, I was shocked by what I saw. She was really banged up, her face swollen, bruises all up her arms. It turned out Damien had done this. She was really struggling for money, and he refused to get a job, so she finally tried to lay down the law and tell him to get a job or she was throwing him out, so he attacked her. Almost dislocated her jaw. It was horrific. Now, we had a history, but at this point none of that mattered. I was worried and sad for her. I immediately asked her if she needed help with anything. She seemed surprised, but we ended up all having a really heartwarming chat, with her saying how much it meant to her that I came to see her. I thought maybe we were turning a corner and could repair our relationship. We had been really close as kids. Oh, how wrong I was. A few weeks later, I started getting blasted on social media and getting nasty messages and texts telling me what an awful person I was and how could I do what I did to Lucy. I was confused. I hadn't done anything. I called Frank. He had no idea either but said he would look into it. Turns out Lucy had told everyone I had come to the hospital and mocked her, gloating, "I told you so," while she bawled her eyes out. I confronted Lucy about it, asking her how she could lie like that. She hit back that this was all my fault, it's what I deserved. If I knew this was going to happen, why didn't I do more to help her? She then demanded I pay her at least £10,000 for damages I caused. Like WTF? She lied to everyone because she couldn't stand that I had been right and decided to punish me for it. 4 months I endured hateful messages from family members who believed her lies. Not all my family believed her, of course, and Frank and his wife cleared things up about what really happened. He managed to record Lucy admitting that she lied, which got most off my back, but there were still a few relatives who had it in their heads that there's no smoke without fire and I must have done something to make her say what she did. But they're all distant relatives on her side, so who cares? Then the pandemic rolled around. Everyone forgot the petty squabbles Lucy and her lies caused. But, last month, we held a family gathering at my parents', the first in years due to the pandemic. Lucy showed up. Thankfully, Damien was absent on account of serving a prison sentence for aggravated assault and battery, unrelated to what he did to his mother. I went to ask Lucy how she was doing. The first words out of her mouth were, "You need to pay me what you owe me. If you don't, I'm taking you to court. I need that money, it's the least you can do for ruining my life." She followed me around the party demanding I pay her, telling everyone who would listen that I had ruined her life. My, what a happy family reunion. If I were Opie, I would have confronted her in front of everyone and reminded her what kind of a parent she was. That's why Damien ended the way he did. She ruined her and her son's life by not being a good parent. Oh, everyone knows. Nobody agreed with her. They either tried to change the subject, walked away, or told her they thought she was wrong. Which is why she started following me around demanding money until my mom had enough and told her to leave. Attacking his own mom? This a cold world. Dude deserves to rot in jail. But if the UK justice system is anything like Canada's, he'll never get anything other than a slap on the wrist. Such a joke. As far as I know, he's serving prison for 5 years at least. This was not his first run-in with the law. He has quite a record, so he's getting more than a slap on the wrist. There may also have been the need for the mother to press charges, which, if the description is true, she would never do to her darling child. Let her try and take it to court. It's on record who assaulted her. There's taped evidence of her saying that it was her son's fault, and she has actively slandered the Opie online, in person and by gossip. So all that she'll end up with is lots of costs to pay, and if she continues down the line of slander, libel costs as well. The thing about Lucy is she's mostly talk and bluster. Her main weapon is gossip and spreading lies, and now everyone in the family know not to believe her, so she's got nothing. I doubt she'd go to court, and even if she did, I don't even know if the court would accept it with no evidence. And if she did somehow get it, I have plenty of evidence against her, so she'd get nowhere anyway, so I'm not worried. Just floored by the audacity. Wait, so she doesn't parent her child and it's your fault as you didn't force her to? Dang. He is supposed to parent the parent who then parents the child. Yikes on bikes. No sane judge would rule in her favor. She'd probably be laughed out of court tbh. As she sounds delusional, she'll probably try for one of those no-win, no-fee lawyers. I'd warn her about what those lawyers are like, but maybe it's time for her to start learning about life. What would she even sue OP for? Predicting the kid would turn out rotten? Putting a curse on him? The lion, the witch, and the audacity of this delusional be *tch. Pardon me if this is too personal, but where is Damien's father in all this? Does he do anything to help? Also, I'm sorry your daughter was hurt that way. Good on you for standing up to her and cutting dangerous people out of yours and her life. You did the right thing and never let anyone tell you otherwise. Hope you are doing okay. Thank you for your kind words. I don't care what the family say, I put my family first. To answer your question, the father is kind of a deadbeat. They divorced because he didn't want to play family man anymore when Damien was about a year old. I think Lucy only got pregnant because she was convinced having a baby would fix their relationship, as it wasn't the best even before that. She had to fight him to pay child support. He was largely absent from Damien's life, and they have little contact. No, love. You caused all this. You didn't discipline your son, so, really, you reap what you sow. If anything, you owe money to OP. Up. First, your nephew is a monster of his mother's own making, of that there is no doubt. You did the absolutely the right thing by banning him and his mother from your house to protect your child. Go and see with your cousin, and if she is there, leave. She shows up, leave. In short, make it very clear, if she is there, or shows up, you are not going to stick around and be harassed by her. And you are sorry if it means that you will not be around so much, nothing personal, but she is not worth your mental or emotional health. I would also be interested in what a solicitor in your area would think about the situation and what all she is doing. Seems like she is slandering and defaming, ruining your good name, and maybe a legal notice for her to stop, maybe a wake-up call for her to either stop or face far worse legal consequences due to her actions. But beyond that, you will need to keep tabs on your nephew. Not cause you are concerned, but more for your own safety. Things like when is he due to be released and where he is located at. That way you can be better prepared for if he shows up. Also, keep the door locked. It is better to be prepared and have plans and never need them than to be caught off guard and need them. You are at fault. At fault for not getting a restraining order on this woman. I thought about it, but once I blocked her, she didn't really turn up at my door and harass me or anything, so I didn't feel the need to. She's not going to be invited to any future family gatherings either. But if she does become a problem, I will. At this point, I don't think there is sufficient action to warrant an RO if it escalates. Yes. But it's an idea. Start documenting everything. Did anyone else's parents collect rent, food, utilities, and the rest of your money because you owed her for emotional damages? Or do I have an EM? Okay, for a bit of backstory, I was in foster care for 15 years until they tried to reintegrate me back in with my mom, and she had me back periodically before losing me again, and it kept going for the first 5 years of my life, until just before my 6th birthday, they removed me permanently and the government relinquished custody until I was legally an adult. I bounced around the foster system until my maternal auntie, so my mom's sister, took me in and cared for me. I had some unresolved trauma resurface around 12 and also suffered from an eating disorder around the same time and was then hospitalized for 3 years, and after just being released from psychiatric care it was incident, and I spiraled yet again, and when in hospital they said they couldn't let me return, it was affecting their images, etc. They were rich who took me in to look good in their circles and I was their charity case. State decided to try reintegrate me back to live with my mom since they had nowhere else to place me. So now I was living with my mom, and as soon as I got there, she told me I had to get a job, and since I was in a living there and I was increasing bills and living cost immensely and I was all enough to pay my way in the world, me being naive and desperately wanting my mother's love deemed it a reasonable request and got a job at the local clothing department store, and it fit around my schedule with school. I already had a bank account and everything that I had for years since. I got an allowance from the government for being in care and studying. However, my mom made me on a new account that she was able to gain access to and monitor the money, and any future payments I wish to receive have to go into this account. After my first paycheck, I went to transfer the money to my mom and then transfer the rest to my savings for if I wanted to do something or for a coffee, etc., only to find nothing in the account, only to see $0 balance. I was working 2 weekends as well as 3 afternoons, and the government allowance since I was in school, more of an incentive payment, earning $620 a week in total. Plus the state was paying her the same as if she were a foster carer. So I, to say the least, was shocked to see an empty account. And I was surprised that she didn't even mention that she had transferred it. So when I asked her where all the money was, she said she had transferred it, like she said, for her expenses. And I asked where the rest of it is? She said it was for emotion damage caused by her losing me and that I owed her back pay for the years I spent in care. I was also expected to cook 3 to 4 meals a week, do all the dishes after and wash and fold and put away laundry, vacuum the house, grocery shopping and tutor my brother and make sure he did homework. And also keep on top of my schoolwork and maintain my grades. Since she wasn't expecting me, she lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with my half-brother in the middle of nowhere and I had no room or bed, I had to sleep on the floor. So to help, the state paid to help her get a place that was in a more secure location and paid for the entire move and furniture, etc. This was like 3 months after I moved in with her. Same as before, she said I had a week to get a job and the drill was the same. Now I had a lawn to mow every week. The walk to school was now 35 minutes long and the shops were a 30 minutes walk the opposite direction. I had to carry the groceries the whole way since my mom didn't drive or have a car. After settling in, even though not happy about having no money to spend as a 15-year-old, it was going well. I had friends and everything. Then one time my caseworker came to check and they said that they were going to start decreasing the payment amount to my mom. She was pissed. And less than a month later I was kicked out because I couldn't benefit her anymore and I was kicked out with nothing. It was all hers now. So with the clothes on my back, luckily had my phone, but homeless, living in a homeless youth hostel and had to drop out of school because I wasn't able to do my assignments and I lost all my books. I was let go from work during this period because I was going through a rough episode that was affecting the business. She never told the caseworker and it wasn't until I had to call her about it a week later, since she never called me. Normally she's there within 24 hours. But yeah. Anyone else had their money taken as teens? Is this even legal? LOL. My mom's entitlement is astounding. My entire family's really. This is just one example. I have so many other things I could add, but this one was on my mind for a while and was like, screw it, let's ask Reddit. Someone is due emotional damages, but it's not your mom. I'm not sure how it works where you are, but maybe try to assess if you can sue your mother? This seems like fraud/coercion to me. I'm not sure how old you are, but if you're a minor, a police complaint for abandonment/neglect/cruelty and theft, if applicable, should be made. This was 8 years ago. Every time I say this, people get baffled at this. I'm in court now with the State Department, but it's a slow process. Report that as soon as you can. The money can and will be returned. You should not be paying for a service you did not sign up for. This was 8 years ago. I'm court now with State Department of Child Protection Services for many reasons, including this one, but it's a slow road, lol. Quick overview. February 1972, Wednesday evening, Dad told me that when I turn 18 in March I will have to give him my savings since I started working. I said, no, I'll just move out. The next Thursday morning at 4:30 a.m., Dad kicked me out. We lived in a rural area and rode the school bus 15 miles to school each way. I walked the 15 miles on an empty stomach, asked a friend to loan me money, and survived school that day on a Danish and juice. For a week I slept on the couch of my friend's house and found an evening job at a plastics factory and sleeping room. For many years I snuck over in the afternoon to visit my mother, a longtime battered wife who insisted it wasn't all that bad. Dad isolated me from my siblings and the rest of the family for about 10 years, saying that he just wanted an apology. I never apologized for anything. We all grew up in hell. I forgave Dad, and Mom too. I highly recommend staying away. Work with your caseworker to find temporary housing until you are ready and able to strike out on your own. Live your best life by doing the next right thing every day. Get training or attend college. Let your family go. I'm sure you grew up in hell too. Remember that you didn't cause it and you cannot cure it. Best of luck. She's definitely entitled. She was legally mandated to pay for your basic necessities, not you. Sue her for giving birth to you without your permission. I'm just so sorry for all you've been through. The absolute FING gall of this woman to blame you for emotional damages she suffered as a result of being an unfit parent. This isn't even entitled, it's delusional. I hope you have kind people in your life now that you trust and that show you unconditional love. You don't deserve any of what happened to you. My adoptive father took rent from me as a 16-year-old and refused to feed me. I had to keep myself alive, buy my own clothes, pay rent and any other money he requested, and he tried to steal my car that my mom gave me. I moved back in with my mom at 17, then got kicked out right before my 18th birthday. A parent or legal guardian had a legal obligation to provide all that for you, and trying to charge a child, especially for anyone receiving a stipend for the child's care, will wind up in jail if they try. Parents too can be jailed for not taking care of their kids. My parents kicked me off my PlayStation. A little backstory. I, 16M, got a job last summer, July 2022. I get tips, but it's not counted as part of the salary, so it's just extra money. Fast forward to December, I decided to use some of my saved tip money to buy a PS5. Our family had a PS4, but my brother took it to college with him when he went back to school, leaving me empty-handed. It's important to note that neither my parents or siblings contributed to the PS5. Only I contributed the money to buy the PS5 and the games on it. Present day, my brother is home from college and brought the PS4. My younger sister, 14, has been playing Spider-Man on it. She recently finished, and now wants to play Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I have on my PS5, and isn't on the PS4. She asked if she could use my PS5 to play it, and I agreed on the terms that if I wanted to use it, I got priority. We haven't had an issue with this until yesterday night. It was 8:15 p.m., and my sister was playing Spider-Man. I told her that I was going to use it at 9 o'clock, since all of my friends were getting on. She said okay, but when the 9 o'clock came, she put up a fight and refused to get off, saying that she hadn't even played for an hour and she wanted to play one more mission. We argued for 5 minutes until I threatened to stop letting her use it, to which she stopped playing and stomped out of the room. She apparently told my parents about it, which I didn't know about. The next night at 8:30, she was playing on it again, and I told her that I wanted it at 9:15. She put up a fight and then went to our parents. My mom got mad at me and told me that I needed to learn how to share. I argued with her, saying that it was my PlayStation that I bought, and that if she wanted to tell me how to use it then she should have paid for it. She didn't like that, and sent me to my room, and told me that until I apologized, I couldn't use my PlayStation. And now while sister is playing in my PlayStation, I'm sitting in my room typing this. Edit 1, just wanted to add that I wrote this last night, and decided to post it this morning, which is why timing might seem weird. Update. Hey everyone, I just wanted to give an update on this situation. First and foremost, thank you for all the support in the comments, it means a lot. Secondly, the story took place Tuesday evening, I posted it Wednesday morning, and it is now Friday of the next week. On the Thursday after I posted, I decided to apologize so that I could get onto the PS5. I did what many of you suggested and put a passcode into it, an idea that many of you suggested. I also uninstalled Spider-Man Miles Morales. Later that night, when my sister went to play, without asking me, she did not know the passcode. She went and whined to my parents, and they threatened to take my car away for the rest of the summer. I have a really old Hyundai, which I also am making payments for all on my own, but it still works fine, and I use it to get to work, the gym, and to meet up with my friends, so I gave them the passcode. She was looking all smug and started taunting me until she realized that Spider-Man wasn't installed. She once again whined to my parents, and I argued by saying that I had gotten a new game and needed space for it. They surprisingly let that slide, just telling me to find space for it so my sister could play it. It was a temporary win in my eyes, as my sister couldn't use it that night. Then, a couple of days went by without any problem until Saturday morning. My sister finished Spider-Man and wanted to buy God of War, GOW. I said she could, until she told me that she wanted me to buy it, since it was my PS5. I refused, as I didn't even want the game. She once again whined to my parents, and they told me that if I didn't buy it, I couldn't use the PS5 again. This time, I stood my ground and took the punishment, since I didn't want to waste money on it. Later Saturday afternoon, I was talking to my best friend, who lives like 5 minutes away. I was explaining the situation, and he said that I could keep the PlayStation there, and come over and use it anytime, another idea that many of you suggested. He and I hang out at his house all the time since both of his parents work 9 to 5, and he has no other siblings. So I drove the PlayStation over and set it up at his house. Later that night when my sister went to use it, she threw a tantrum as it wasn't there. My parents stormed to my room and started interrogating me. I said that I decided to lend it to my friend, a different one that I actually gave it to since they would have figured out I was over at his house playing it, saying that he was deciding if he wanted to get one, and since I was never able to use mine, I lent it to him. I added that I was thinking of selling it to him, which they got very mad over. But surprisingly, they did nothing. As far as they knew, I was obeying the punishment that they gave, and I think they were starting to get tired of fighting with me. They did make sure to remind me that if it ever comes back to the house, I still couldn't play it until I got GOW. Whatever. So for the past few days, I've been hanging out with my best friend, playing video games without my little sister or parents to annoy me. But I'm sure that this isn't going to be the last update, or post about them. If MoVE made it this far, thank you. Good for you. Play the long game. Maybe they will stop enabling your sister to use your things. It came across as normal teenager stuff until your parents tried to insist that you purchase a full-priced AAA game for your sister so she can play it. The pedestal your parents place your sister on was clear for all to see, and you're expected to just enable her. You really need to tell your parents that if they yell at you because of your golden child sister, you will make sure they regret it. They need to learn to tell her no and that she won't always get her way. Plus make sure they understand that they have zero legal right over your PS5. They can't tell you can't play it when they have put zero money into buying it or the games. That if they want her to play on a PS5, that they are going to have to buy her one. And if you decide to bring your PS5 back over, you will put another pin on it and they can't do jack shit to get you to remove the pin and that your sister is not allowed to play on it. Good for you. You bought it, so your rules. I love video games, so myself and my daughters have all the newest systems. The rule is they share. I have my own, I paid for them. However, my oldest helped a family friend build his new PC and gave her his old one. It has never been an issue, but since that is hers, she does not have to share. Your parents are setting your sister up for failure when she pulls that with other people who don't want to share. Sounds to me like they don't want a parent and the PS5 keeps her occupied. You should tell your sister to ask your parents to buy her one for Christmas and just not stop asking. But the PS5 is mine legally, not yours. You can't ban me from playing something I legally own that you have no rights to, so unless you want the police called, you can't take my PS5 away. Say this if they try to make you give it to them. Fine. You can't use our power or television. Seriously, don't provoke the war at home or threaten legal action without any lawyer money. The deck is stacked against OP and the law is not likely to care about a minor's drama over a gaming device. Not supporting the parents here, just laying out the hard truth. My advice? Keep saving your money, lie about your income if you must, get some friend you know you can stand, and start considering apartments. That was a good choice. Your parents are psychos if you ask me. That was brave of you. I hope you will move out eventually. Your sister can get Miles Morales on PS4, we have it, and have a PS4. GOW is too. Not in the story, but I tried telling my parents that, and they told me she likes the PS5 better. If the Spidey game is no longer on your PS5, then why does your sister need to use your game system? She should be using the family one, PS4, your brother brought back for the summer. Your parents sound awful and they are creating a very entitled child. You know, I can understand forcing your kids to share, but ordering one to buy something they don't even want. Do they think video games just come with the box like Netflix? Do they not realize that's $70 in tax of your money? No, they do realize. They said since it's my PS5, I should buy it. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.